BIP Bizarre Interest Productions, and you're getting an impromptu video because of course you will. There's been a bit of a discussion regarding Beyblade, mostly the anime, though I know this also ties into the real-life Beyblades themselves. But since I talk about the anime, I do want to explore this topic of infighting and toxicity within Beyblade fans when it comes to the anime. Yes, I am going to have a conversation about which Beyblade anime I think is superior in the future, but I want to talk about how come I didn't fall into this mentality in the first place. I started getting into Beyblade. It was right around the Bakuten and Shu era came in between when I was 3 to 10. Like I said before, I couldn't, and debatably now, I can't afford to buy Beyblades, so I had the anime and the manga to guide me through them, and I watched them while they aired on Disney, Toon Disney, and mostly Jetix. Though, for some reason, reruns could be inconsistent. I was able to watch the original trilogy, even though I can barely remember parts of V-Force for some reason. I still enjoyed them and even checked out the manga to see the difference between the two. Video about that in the future. And when it ended, I was annoyed trying to find out where they are now and some cutscenes in the dub, but I was satisfied, always wondering what was next for the Beyblade anime. Then 2 years later, we got Beyblade Metal Fusion coming to the States, and all I remember was that there was a blader introducing the heavy metal system in the manga, and vaguely remember there was a Pegasus user, so I was thinking, was the original trilogy getting a sequel story set in the future? Well, I was wrong. It was a different universe and story, with a new take on what came before. We knew the Bit Beasts were trapped inside different objects, rocks could be artificially made, and the original didn't go into detail, so having all the Beyblades be based off constellations was pretty damn cool. And this time, there wasn't a huge tournament focus. It was just characters going through their daily lives, villains introduced early, and just like the original series, there were battles that took place both inside the dish and outside the dish. Sure, tournaments connected to the story, but like V-Force, Fusion was leaning into a story without the tournament being the focal point. We had lore connecting the Beyblades together, the Dark Power, new bladers, and a war between the heroes and villains being settled. Then a world tournament for the next season with a new character similar to Daichi and 2 fan favorites being part of the team. And while past season 1 characters got snubbed, we got some intense battles, and that eventually led into Fury, taking the old and new characters and finishing this tale to defeat the God of Destruction, hinted at throughout the series. And though it really probably could have been better at a proper 51 episodes, I did enjoy it. Even got a sequel spin-off with Zero G and Shogun Steel. My issues with the stadium and half of the underdeveloped characters aside, I like the torch passing and rebuilding the world after the Nemesis conflict with new legacy characters based on or inspired by the past. Synchron was a cool mechanic, sadly tied down to only 4 pairs, technically 5. And it sucks the sales didn't do well in Japan because the dub actually aired the lost episodes with the full season. I wanted more, and the Metal Saga series was for me from middle to high school. Gonna be honest, I thought Bay Wheels was decent. A solid 13 episode series, the heroes having to add new members to their team to stop a new evil team, and despite being obvious a few twists and turns along the way, and it had a cool teaser for the next season with the new world. Unfortunately, Bay Raiders came out, half the characters that went to this new world was missing, and while the lore was cool, the Raider system was so boring to watch as a concept. There were no special moves, only one plot twist, and we were done to having no female bladers at all, and it was disappointing. Heck, Cyborg never aired in the show, but from what I saw, that looks leagues more interesting. And then 2 years later, we got Burst. And with high school ending and college approaching, I figured to check out the sub. It was different than I expected. We were going from 2 fantastical-esque shows to something more grounded, but I was still expected to give it a chance, so I did. And I liked what they changed it up. There are multiple ways to win or lose from a battle. We had a complete underdog as the protagonist. The cast was filled with archetypes that were vaguely familiar, but introduced new things like elite bladers that would take over the whole show for the heroes to face off against eventually and defeat, more practical strategies, and a resonance gimmick for the stretching disbelief aspects a la special moves. Then Season 2 fleshed out the World Tournament with the new Deuteragonist being a world champion and free, the issues of going from district to global, the subplot with the Snake Pit, and the final battle between rivals. Then Season 3 shook things up by having a new protagonist with the former one still around in the story, as both an ally and an obstacle with new characters. which was super divisive, but still ended up pretty successful despite some issues. Season 4 shook things up with another new protagonist, but focusing exclusively on the new generation's debut, with Vol and Aiga turning out as pseudo-mentors and guides for the other heroes. Season 5 was a mixed bag that decided to have an all-star season with twins taking on the legends, and then Season 6 took a huge risk switching up the protagonist to an outsider having to play the game for the first time and developing their own system that other people would have to basically build their new Beyblades out of instead. And Burst was so successful that Hasbro commissioned a Season 7 to use its protagonists and antagonists to give some closure to the series. Though I did notice a lot of division for every season after Season 2 of Burst, but I can't say Burst was a failure by any means, or if it really had some sort of downhill that people like to claim it did. Now we're in the X era, and this one has really split the fanbase apart. Two protagonists who both always win and lose, a female protagonist, more women bladers, a grounded season when people were begging for another fantasy series, and seasons not to switch up protagonists actively switching out their Beyblades even when acquiring new ones. It's been definitely an interesting journey, especially given how this time they're sticking more close to the manga, but using the anime to enhance the stories and characters. That's something been done since the original, but never have been so closely as it is now. When I see all this division and vitriol, it's definitely annoying as a fan of all the generations. Granted, I don't see that many original generation fans act like this, but I do remember that there was this particular fan that would say everything in Metal was a ripoff from the original, even though this is a franchise that always homages aspects from the past and even in their own season with variations. Or something petty like getting mad the Beyblades went from being called Blades to Bays, since that was apparently homosexual or something. I don't know. But they're the only one I can remember, and people have told me that this person was just an annoying nuisance in the community, so I get that. But if people's first Beyblade series was the original, and this is how they're acting towards the later generations, then I not only condemn that, but I'm just disappointed too. For Metal, while there are valid criticisms to be had with the series, all four in fact, I still enjoy it, which makes it all the more disappointing to see people have this tribalism by using their love for it to target the other series. Like saying the battles from the other three series aren't as epic just because a tournament fight from episode 6 of Burst is really stupid compared to Ryuga having a Beyblade from space constellation magic that can cause shockwaves, which doesn't mean anything if you're ignoring the story and characterization behind the battles. It's not just hype moments and aura, guys. And then with Burst, you have a similar problem with Metal, with too many people yelling plot armor or nerfed. Like last I checked, Beyblades are under Hasbro and Takara Tomy. Why are we all yelling nerf like you're in a Mattel commercial for their nerf guns? Not every Burst fan is young or like this, but it's annoying how most people are willing to ignore context just because the character they like lost. And there's a whole discussion with both Metal and Burst fans how they have no problems in their season 1 and season 2 when characters lost, but suddenly want to act entitled whenever a character they like lost to someone new, like the series has never established new threats by having them beat, tie, or force the protagonist to train or adapt to defeat them in the future or hype them up for their next encounter. I would not be yelling nerf at Tyson for losing to Kai, Ozuma, or Lei and Ri in any of those seasons in their first matches with them when he didn't have a proper bit beast in season 1, was up against a new challenge against someone who with the power to steal his Beyblade's base spirit, or was adjusting to his first tag battle with a teammate he never worked with before. It's almost like context matters for these things. And with X, I get the choices aren't for everyone, and even I think certain criticism is people just being really questionable. But my solution to all of you is precisely why I'm talking about X for this particular section. Every Beyblade series, even season, is trying something different. Instead of all these pointless comparisons with no nuance, ask yourself, are you judging these Beyblade seasons on what you want it to be or on what it's trying to do? Do the battles have good choreography or tactics? Is there less creativity and variety in the battles? Did the character arcs feel incomplete or have parts that could be fleshed out? Did this character need more establishment or focus? Did these losses or wins help the character on their journey? Those are the questions we should be asking with each season. And I know it's not everyone. For example, Wildfangs watched the Metal Trilogy and he checked out seasons 1 and 2. He thought 1 was fine but liked the personal drama factor, but liked 2 more because of the tension with the Red Eye plotline, with criticisms that were understandable, but not toxic. I have an entire video on the issues with Hikaru's character from Metal and how, with what the show implied, they could have fleshed out her character more. Even simple conversations about what the gimmicks did the anime do better in real life to gimmicks that make fights in the anime work are things that we could also talk about. There's so much about all of the anime to talk about, but Going to someone else's video and yelling about Ryuga Solo's burst is stupid. Ryuga can't even do that. He's dead. Like, adjust Ryuga so him and El Drago's fighting style adjust how burst battles in the anime work, and then you have a conversation that's interesting. Like, ask yourself a question. Would Tyson, Jinga, Vault, or Persona would want y'all to be having these dumb fan wars over each other if they were real people? It's the same thing as the dumb Oda versus Kishimoto and Gun versus Snyder nonsense. If the creators of your favorite franchises or characters would canonically like each other, yes, Naruto and Luffy have eaten ramen together, then why are you fighting each other? But to wrap this up, just give the other Beyblade generations a chance instead of only focusing on one of them. Without the original, wouldn't have the rest. Metal has some many interesting aspects about it that aren't just hype moments and aura. Burst seasons all have something unique about them for better or worse, and we're able to capture a new audience. And X's characters and parallels have a lot in common with real life. Who expected to have a character try and alter the metagame in the show? Isn't that pretty interesting? Yeah, what's the worst examples of scenarios of toxicity and pointless arguments with Beyblade have you seen or heard about? I just finished writing the script and another one, so you'll probably get this one either second or first. Leave all your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.